I've spent most of my life pretending to be someone else. That's not a metaphor. For 5 years, I was a ghost slipping in and out of other people's lives like I was trying on their skin. I've been a son, a brother, a boyfriend, and even a husband, all to people ID never met before. It started with a lie. Just one. I was 21, broke, and living in a tiny apartment I couldn't afford. My landlord had already threatened eviction twice, and the job market was as dry as my fridge. I had nothing. Then, one night, I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw a post in a local community group. It was a woman looking for her brother. The post was vague, something about how they'd been separated years ago. She had finally tracked him down to my city, but hadn't been able to contact him. She included a photo, a grainy shot of a young man with shaggy brown hair and a lazy smile. He looked a bit like me. I don't know what came over me. Maybe it was desperation, or maybe I just wanted to see if I could pull it off. Either way, I made a fake account, messaged her, and said, "It's me. I'm your brother." It was too easy. She believed me instantly. She cried on the phone when we talked for the first time, and I almost felt guilty. Almost. But then she started talking about how she'd send money to help me get back on my feet. Suddenly, the guilt didn't matter anymore. That first scam was small. She sent me $500, enough to cover rent and groceries for the month. I told myself it would be a one-time thing, just a temporary fix. But after that, I couldn't stop. I started looking for people, not just random marks. I targeted the lonely, the ones posting about missing family members, lost loves, estranged friends. Social media is a gold mine for people like me. I de-study their profiles, learn their stories, and craft a version of myself that fit perfectly into their lives. There was the woman in Seattle who thought I was her high school sweetheart. We exchanged messages for weeks before I convinced her to send me $1,000 to visit her. Of course, I never showed up. Then there was the older man in Florida who thought I was his long-lost nephew. He wired me $3,000 to help pay off my student loans. The more I did it, the better I got. I learned how to mimic speech patterns, how to ask just enough questions to seem believable without arousing suspicion. I kept my lies simple, close to the truth. If someone asked where I worked, I'd say I was between jobs. If they asked why I didn't have photos, I'd say I lost my phone or didn't like being on camera. People wanted to believe me, and I gave them every reason to. But the thing is, lies have a way of catching up to you. The first crack in my perfect facade came about 2 years in. I was pretending to be the son of a man named Henry, a retired truck driver from Kansas. His real son had died in a car accident years ago and had been carrying the weight of that loss ever since. When I reached out to him, claiming to be his son, I could hear the hope in his voice. It was intoxicating. Henry didn't have much money, but he sent what he could. A couple $100 here, a few gift cards there. We talked almost every day, and I found myself looking forward to our conversations. He wasn't just a mark anymore. He felt like a real person. Then one day, he told me he was coming to visit. I froze. I hadn't planned for this. Most of the people I scammed lived far away, but Henry was only a few hours' drive from my city. He said he wanted to reconnect, to see me face to face for the first time in years. I tried to talk him out of it, but he wouldn't budge. The day he was supposed to arrive, I packed up everything I owned and left. I didn't even tell my landlord. I just disappeared. That should have been the wake-up call. I should have stopped then and there, but instead, I doubled down. I told myself I just needed to be more careful, to keep people at a distance. And it worked until I met Clara. Clara was different. She wasn't looking for a lost relative or a long-lost love. She was just lonely. She posted in a Reddit thread about how she wished she had someone to talk to, someone who understood her. I reached out, pretending to be just another kind stranger. At first, it was innocent. We'd chat about movies, music, and books. She'd tell me about her job as a nurse, and I'd lie about being a freelance writer. I didn't even ask her for money. I just liked talking to her. But then she started opening up about her struggles. She'd been through a messy divorce, and she was drowning in debt. She said she felt like she couldn't catch a break, like the world was against her. That's when the old habits kicked in. I told her I could help. I said I'd been through similar struggles and had found a way to get back on my feet. I convinced her to give me her banking info, promising I'd use it to help consolidate her debts. You can guess what happened next. I drained her account in less than an hour. It wasn't much, just over $4,000, but it was everything she had. She called me the next day, sobbing, saying she didn't understand what had happened. She thought the bank had made a mistake. I stayed silent, listening as she unraveled on the other end of the line. That was the last time I ever spoke to her. Something about Clara broke me. Maybe it was the way she trusted me so completely, or maybe it was the realization that I wasn't just stealing money anymore. I was stealing pieces of people's lives. I tried to justify it to myself, saying it was just business, that everyone I scammed would recover eventually. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. People like Clara don't bounce back. They carry the scars forever. I quit cold turkey after that, deleted all my fake accounts, threw away the burner phone I used for scams, and got a real job. It wasn't glamorous, just warehouse work, but it was honest. It's been 5 years since then. I've kept my head down, paid my bills, and stayed out of trouble. But the guilt never goes away. Sometimes I think about the people I hurt, about the lies I disrupted for a quick buck. I wonder if they ever piece together what really happened, if they still think about me the way I think about them. They'll never be able to make up for what I did. The damage is done, and there's no undoing it. All I can do now is keep moving forward, one day at a time, hoping that someday they'll feel like I deserve the second chance I gave myself.